the raspberries, strawberries, blueberries and rhubarb. And we're particularly trying to pick the ruddy part of the stalk first of all. And we've got some mascarpone cheese and cottage cheese, and we'll mix that with the little cream here that we've got. Yesterday I made some Victoria sponge. Not going to show you how to do that. The recipe's actually in the book. We talk about it. Your bread loaf tin now. This is what I bake my brown bread in at the moment. So I'm going to line that with cling film, and then I'm going to start layering all the ingredients into that and let it set in the fridge for 3 to 6 hours. First of all, I'm going to poach the rhubarb. Now it's kind of very bitter, as you know. We're going to poach that in orange juice, which will help to make, and add a little sugar. So we just put that in. And we'll put a sprinkle of sugar. Now we don't want to use too much sugar, just about 100 grams. And we put that on to poach here. Now we know we have to soften our cheese, so we'll get a bowl here and we'll put our cheeses into that. We'll add a little milk or cream. So the next stage now is to get some eggs. I didn't point the eggs out in the ingredients list, but I do need some eggs. 4 eggs. So we're just separating 4 eggs, the egg whites from the yolks. But you can't make a lovely cake without cracking eggs. We're just simmering the orange juice, sugar, and this poach the rhubarb. But just to say that the cameraman doesn't like the sound of electric motors, so he's a masochist, so I have to beat by hand. I've added sugar to the egg yolks, and I've put the bowl over some heat where I'm using the orange juice in that just to warm up my. And I'm going to beat that together until it's kind of white, changed kind of white, and then I'm going to add Baileys to it. So this is kind of the tricky part, where you want it to actually all come together and thicken, so that the layers, you'll see now what I mean. We've beaten this until it's overheat, so it's getting thick and increasing in volume. So what we need to do now is we need to add some gelatine that will help make that set a little bit better when the Baileys are added to it and everything. But you have to infuse it into it, stirring all the time. This is where you need just a little patience. It's like a custard now, like a natural custard, and it's gradually thickening up. We'll have to let that go cool then to mix in with the cheese. Now it's coming together now, I can feel it. The orange juice and rhubarb have come together, so we're going to use what Patrick would have used, some carrageen moss. We just stir it in there. So this is the mascarpone cheese, kind of softened with the little cream. And we'll try and fold that into this mixture now. Much easier if you could use your cake mixer, but the cameraman's very strict. Allow my finger. Oh, Patrick will be proud. Now, for the next stage, I'm going to try and work the egg whites in. Again, we're not trying to knock the air to make this nice and fluffy. So we're gently working it in so we don't knock the air out of the egg whites. Now, we'll set that aside, and we're nearly ready to assemble our ingredients. This is my bread tin. Now it's a very deep bread tin, which is great because it'll allow me get several layers in. So what I'll do is I'll just line it though with cling film. So I'm going to just put this in and make sure this is the bottom layer. What we need to do is take some of our rhubarb mixture and all of these fruits and just put them in here, sink them into it, and they will come through. This is the rhubarb set with the carrageen moss. You can see how it's set here like that. And actually, if you have too much of this rhubarb mixture, I love it with my porridge in the morning. So now we'll put in another layer. Now we might think about some of our sides now to firm it up. So I'm going to cut these. So we're just going to set these in here. These are kind of replacing our sponge fingers. We'd no need to go out and buy stuff. Now we'll put more fruit into that. Rhubarb. I don't want to gild the lily, but we're going pretty good now. So we've one last, we're going to put the last layer on then. So we can layer that up like that. And this will be the bottom of the cake, if you like. Depends on who you're serving this to, but I normally serve to adults now. So I'm going to drizzle a little bit of any kind of liqueur, but I'm going to put a little bit of an almond or a nutty liqueur. Again, if you had allergic to anything, it mightn't be good, but we could actually use sherry or anything just to soften those. Just sprinkling it over it. It'll give a nice little bit of je ne sais quoi, or cad gum lat. Fold over your cling film. Going to pop it in the fridge for about 3 hours would be the minimum, but I actually think it could do overnight, maybe 6 or 8 hours. It'd actually improve it a lot. I've let this cool for 6 hours now to steady it and to make the carrageen moss and the gelatine and everything set. And I'm going to invert it now. We'll see if it happens. And just lift the cake tin. So now we have it here, and we just have the cling film that we lined the the bread tin with, and I'm just pulling that off. So there you can see the layers of summer fruit that we're trying to achieve. The rhubarb on the bottom, the fresh raspberries and the blueberries. Now it can tend to be a little bit messy depending on how long you leave it, but I'll tell you, whether it's broken up or not, it actually tastes fabulous. This is some of the elderflower that we made earlier. So everything wild from the countryside at the moment. So I'm just going to head out onto my roof garden now for a lovely glass of elderflower champagne and my summer fruit log that started off as the rhubarb log. The recipe in the book, www.stpatricksplate.com. Cheers!